Welcome back to the Crystal Cares Yoga channel. My name is Crystal, and this class is a pose breakdown for Virasana pose, also known as Hero's Pose. Virasana is a seated or kneeling posture. It's also a great posture that you could use for meditation. So I will show you how to get into it, a few modifications that you can do, and ways to up-level it. Typically, you could get into this from your tabletop. Draw those inner thighs and the knees together and flank the toes out slightly to the sides. Then walk the hands back to lower the hips down in between the heels. You may need to do a little wiggling to adjust. And then once you've let the weight of your hips drop back, then find the alignment of the spine. All three of those bandhas that we talked about in our Sukhasana video. And you have that long alignment from the crown of your head down through your root. This pose stretches out our quadriceps and our IT bands and strengthens our feet and our arches, as well as the core a little bit too. All right, so some modifications. This pose can be really intense on our knees and our quads as well if you're quite tight there. So what you could do is take a block, and as you lower your weight back, just let that block catch your sit bones just on the edges of it. So this is one easy modification that you can do to help sustain this posture for longer periods of time if you want to use it for meditation. And if this even still feels like it's putting too much pressure on your knees, then you can take a second block and just add it to the tower. You could also have a blanket tucked under your knees if you'd like to add even a little bit extra comfort there. Now these blocks are quite hard, so they're not the most comfortable on my sit bone. So another version that you can do is take a thickly rolled blanket and tuck that underneath the sit bones. So this is not nearly as supportive as your blocks, but for me, this is much more comfortable. And I still feel lifted up enough that I don't feel any pressure in my knees. One more that you might like is taking your blanket, fold it up into a nice little rectangle, and tucking that underneath your hips, just over the calves, and then sitting the hips back. So it creates sort of like a little canopy under you to keep you supported. If the tops of your feet aren't bending this way for your Virasana, you could also take that rolled blanket, maybe a slightly thinner roll, and you can step the tops of your feet over that, like this. Inner thighs and knees come together and hips sit back. Fixing two things with one prop. So it's supporting both your feet and your hips here. The common variation of Hero's Pose is a supine Virasana or a reclined Hero's Pose. So for that one, you walk your hands back on your mat like you're basking in the sunshine. I like to lift my hips up a little bit here so I can get that tuck of my tailbone going under. And then lower down to the forearms. Now again, this can be done with that block still under you, although that's actually more intense the further back you lean. So if you're doing this pose and want to be supported here, you would want your block at the front of your knees. And then you let your elbows peel off to the sides as you release to your back. Now this is reclined hero's pose, so it intensifies that stretch through the quadriceps and IT bands. And then to recover from this, start to inch those shoulders back underneath you. I press my hands into my feet to use them as a leverage as I press down through my elbows. And then bring the palms back underneath you. Remove the block. And then you come back up into your seat. And I think the easiest way to get out of this pose is likely the same way you came in, but here are some options. Pressing through the palms and walking it back out to tabletop. There is one option. Or another option is shifting slightly into one side. So I'm shifting into my left side and then releasing my right leg to come forward. And this actually takes us into half hero's pose. So if the full version of hero's pose has been like a lot of pressure, then you can try this half hero's variation as well as keeping that one block underneath this knee here. And then to fully recover from the posture, you would lean into the other hip and extend the left leg back to the front. So that is Virasana Hero's Pose. Let me know in the comments below if this video was helpful to you, and happy meditating.